This is what a typical family pantry looks like, a chaotic but comfortable symbol of modern abundance, with snacks for every craving and backups for backups. But imagine that for 7 days, all that is gone and only a meager weekly ration remains. This involves adopting the food storage and rationing habits of a 1940s family to see what lessons can be learned. And this isn't just about eating less. It's a complete shift in how a family acquires, stores, and thinks about food. The rules are simple. Live off a typical weekly ration allowance, supplemented only with what a small garden can provide, and preserve any surplus using period-accurate methods. The results for the pantry and for one's mindset are more profound than could ever be expected. Here's what really happens when a modern family lives like it's World War II. Number 1, the setup. A world of scarcity. Before beginning, one must understand the rules of the game. During the Second World War, rationing was a structured, government-mandated system designed to ensure the fair distribution of scarce resources. But those rules were not universal. Rationing in the U.S., which used a points-based system for items like meat and fat, differed from the system in Britain, where fixed weekly allowances were more common and often stricter. For this type of experiment, a model based on the British system, known for its stringency, is used to truly understand the pressure of limitation. Seeing an entire week's worth of food for a family of 4 laid out in one place is the first shock to the system. For one adult, the weekly allowance is stark. A representative example includes about a pound of meat, 2 ounces of butter, 4 ounces of margarine, 2 ounces of cheese, 4 ounces of cooking fat, 8 ounces of sugar, 3 pints of milk, 2 ounces of tea, and in Britain, 1 single fresh egg. Seeing this tiny pile of food meant to sustain a grown person for 7 days is humbling. A child's sweet ration, which in Britain fluctuated but was at times around 12 ounces a month, looks pitiful when divided out for the week. The psychological weight is immediate. This isn't a diet where one can cheat. This is a closed system. Once this food is gone, it is gone. The sense of limitation is palpable. This isn't about playing make-believe. It is about stepping into a mindset of genuine scarcity, a mindset that shaped a generation. The modern pantry is emptied. In its place, a wartime larder is set up. Sacks of potatoes and carrots stored in a cool, dark corner, a makeshift root cellar. On the counter, the weekly rations look impossibly small. And then there is the victory garden, a few raised beds in a backyard. For decades, home gardens have been a hobby. Now, they become a critical part of the food supply chain. These gardens were vital during the war, with some government estimates suggesting that by 1944, millions of families grew up to 40% of the fresh vegetables consumed in the U.S. preservation also has to be considered. One cornerstone of the wartime kitchen was making food last. The government encouraged citizens to can all you can, calling it a real war job. Community canning centers provided equipment and knowledge, but a personal pressure canner and glass jars work just as well. Any surplus from the garden must be processed for another day. Number 2, day 1, the hunger hits. The first morning feels quiet. A modern kitchen is normally a flurry of activity. Now, the only sound is a pot of water coming to the boil. Breakfast is porridge, just oatmeal, water, and a pinch of salt. With a weekly sugar ration of just 8 ounces, it must be guarded carefully. A modern palate, especially a child's, might find it pasty. It's not wrong, it is bland, functional fuel. For taste buds accustomed to a blast of sugar, it is a shock. The psychological shift begins. Food is no longer about pleasure. It is about sustenance. By mid-morning, the cravings kick in. You might find yourself wandering to the pantry, a hand reaching for a phantom bag of pretzels, before remembering it is empty. The feeling isn't just hunger, It's a kind of low-grade anxiety, a ration book neurosis, as some have called it. The constant mental calculation of what you have, what you can eat, and what you must save creates a persistent mental load. For lunch, resourcefulness is key. There are potatoes, which were not rationed in Britain and were plentiful in American Victory Gardens, and a small portion of the cheese ration. A simple potato soup is made with a tiny bit of cheese grated on top. The portions are noticeably smaller. You eat slowly, savoring each spoonful, something rarely done in modern life. The afternoon is the hardest part. The post-lunch slump hits, and the body screams for sugar. The tea ration is a mere 2 ounces for the week, so a casual afternoon cup is out of the question. Children might ask for snacks, and for the first time, the answer has to be, there are no snacks, we have to wait for dinner. The look on their faces is one of genuine confusion. Dinner is the first attempt at a wartime recipe. Minced beef from the meat ration, bulked up with grated carrots and lentils to make it stretch. It's served with more potatoes and steamed greens from the Victory Garden. The garden is already proving its worth. Everyone cleans their plates. For the first time in a long time, there are no leftovers. Lying in bed later, one can feel a gnawing emptiness in the stomach. The famous Minnesota starvation experiment of 1944 studied the effects of severe prolonged calorie restriction on volunteers, finding that the subjects became obsessed with food. While this rationed diet is not a starvation diet, and the experiment is only 1 week, that obsession can already be felt. You fall asleep not thinking about a to-do list, but about the single allotted egg for the week and how it will be cooked. Number 3, day 2, the joy of an egg. Waking up on day 2 might come with a singular focus, the egg. The weekly ration of 1 fresh egg per person was a stark reality in wartime Britain. In the US, shell eggs generally weren't rationed with coupons, though powdered eggs were, and availability could be inconsistent. This 1 egg feels like a precious jewel. The question becomes, how to make the most of it? Boiling it seems best. A fried egg feels too frivolous. Scrambling it with the meager milk ration seems wasteful. Watching it bob in the pot is done with an intensity normally reserved for a season finale. That small bite of egg on a piece of dry toast is incredible. The rich, creamy yolk is a burst of flavor in a world that is quickly becoming defined by blandness. It's a powerful lesson. When you have very little, what you do have becomes exponentially more valuable. Lunch is a creative challenge. The answer, as it was for many wartime families, comes from the garden. An attempt is made at one of the most iconic dishes of the British home front, the Woolton pie. Named after Lord Woolton, the Minister of Food, this pie was the epitome of resourcefulness. A simple vegetable pie made with whatever was available, topped with a potato or wholemeal pastry. The result is a humble affair. Diced potatoes, carrots, and onions from the garden, stewed in vegetable water thickened with a spoonful of oatmeal, topped with a simple pastry made from flour and a knob of the lard ration. It isn't beautiful, but it is hot, filling, and made almost entirely from unrationed ingredients. It feels like a small victory, a symbol of resilience baked in a crust. For dinner, it's leftover Woolton pie. During the meal, conversation might turn to what is missed most. Children miss juice and cookies. Adults miss coffee or cheese more than any specific food. It is the freedom of choice that is missed. The ability to open a refrigerator full of possibilities and ask, what do I feel like eating, is a luxury never even recognized. That night, the psychological toll feels heavier. It's a profound insight into the daily reality for millions, for whom this wasn't a 1-week experiment, but a years-long reality. They weren't just fighting a war on the battlefields. They were fighting a daily battle for normalcy in their own kitchens. Number 4, day 3, the art of the mock dish. By day 3, a certain rhythm has set in. Wake up hungry, eat porridge, feel hungry again an hour later. This is when one might tackle one of the most creative aspects of wartime cooking, the mock dish. With meat heavily rationed, home cooks became masters of illusion. The target is mock goose, a lentil-based loaf layered with a stuffing made from stale breadcrumbs, onions, and sage. For lunch, there is a simple broth made from boiling vegetable scraps, potato peels, carrot ends, and onion skins, collected in a pot all week. A few days ago, one might have scoffed at this. Now, that thin, savory broth feels like a gift. In the afternoon, the mock goose is assembled. As it bakes, the smell of sage and onion fills the kitchen. The first time all week, the house has smelled like a traditional dinner. The final result doesn't taste like goose, but it is savory, hearty, and holds together in a slice. Paired with boiled cabbage from the garden, it is the most substantial meal yet. Eating it is a lesson in perception. It isn't about what it wasn't. It is about what it was. A filling, protein-rich meal made from humble, available ingredients. It is a triumph of creativity over scarcity. After dinner, preservation is the task. A victory garden might produce more greens than can be eaten. In a modern kitchen, they would have wilted in the crisper. Tonight, they are canned. Using a pressure canner for low-acid vegetables like greens is critical to prevent botulism, a safety measure heavily emphasized in government pamphlets, though historical practice was uneven and depended on access to equipment and knowledge. Listening to the rhythmic hissing of the canner brings a deep satisfaction. One is creating a pantry, not just consuming from one. Number 5, day 4, a sweet discovery. Halfway through, the biggest craving for everyone is sugar. A ration of 8 ounces per person dwindles quickly, and desserts are a distant memory. Or so it seems. This is the day to discover the genius of wartime sweet treats, which relied on ingenuity rather than rationed sugar. Turning to a collection of wartime recipe pamphlets, the answer is found in a vegetable in abundance, carrots. A carrot sponge pudding can be made, which uses grated carrot for sweetness and moisture, a bit of the fat ration, flour, and only a tiny amount of sugar. The real sweetness comes from a layer of jam. A typical jam ration was 1 pound every 2 months, so a couple of spoonfuls of a homemade jam canned over the summer would be a direct parallel to how a 1940s family would have used their own preserved fruits. The result is astonishing. The pudding is moist, surprisingly sweet, and deeply comforting. After 4 days of austerity, it tastes like the most luxurious cake imaginable. It is a revelation. Sweetness can be found in unexpected places. This small triumph has a noticeable effect on morale. It is a reminder that even within tight constraints, there is room for pleasure. The government knew this. Even with strict rationing, there was still an allowance for sweets because they understood that morale was a critical part of the war effort. Dinner is simple. Potato pancakes, made from grated raw potatoes and fried in a small amount of the cooking fat. They are crispy, soft, and incredibly filling. While eating, one reflects on how their perception of food is changing. A simple potato is no longer just a potato. It is a pie crust, a soup thickener, and a pancake. Its versatility is something never before appreciated. The experience forces you to become more mindful, resourceful, and grateful. Number 6, day 5, the community spirit. By day 5, what comes into focus is a growing sense of isolation. This kind of experiment can cut a family off from normal social routines. No coffee with friends, no pizza night. It makes you realize how much modern social life revolves around casual consumption. This leads to exploring another crucial aspect of the home front, community. The shared experience of rationing forged strong bonds. Neighbors shared surplus vegetables, exchanged recipes, and looked out for one another. This can be replicated in a small way. By explaining the experiment to a neighbor, a trade can be made. Surplus garden lettuce for something else. Perhaps a neighbor has chickens. Meeting at the fence to trade a large bag of fresh lettuce and herbs for a carton with 3 fresh eggs is like striking gold. And this simple exchange is transformative. It breaks the monotony and reconnects you to the world. More importantly, it is a powerful lesson in the value of community resources. During the war, people shared not just food, but also equipment like pressure canners. This idea of pooling resources is something largely lost today. For lunch, this new bounty is celebrated by scrambling the 3 eggs with a splash of milk. It feels like an absolute feast. The psychological lift is enormous. Dinner is a simple affair of bean soup, flavored with a precious slice of bacon from the ration. Another example of stretching a small amount of a rationed item to flavor a whole meal. That evening, you might find yourself thinking about the modern food system. The wartime experience, for all its hardship, fostered a deep reliance on one's immediate community. It is a reminder that resilience isn't just about individual preparedness. It's about the strength of local networks. Number 7, day 6, the mental game. On the penultimate day, the psychological effects are more pronounced. The constant denial of cravings and the sheer mental effort of planning can wear you down. The house might feel tense. The experience is no longer a fun challenge. It is an endurance test, highlighting how deeply emotional well-being is tied to food. To break the tension, the focus turns to the victory garden. The garden is more than a source of food. It is a psychological outlet. The act of nurturing plants and seeing tangible growth is a powerful way to combat the sense of helplessness that rationing can induce. The physical work provides a shared purpose and a sense of accomplishment. You are not passively receiving rations, you're actively producing your own food. This small act of agency is incredibly empowering. In the afternoon, fat is saved. After cooking the last 2 slices of bacon, instead of wiping the pan, the rendered fat is carefully poured into a small jar. During the war, saving fat was a patriotic duty. This salvaged fat could be used for cooking or returned to be used in the production of glycerin for the war effort. Staring at the small jar on the counter, you are struck by how every single action, no matter how small, was connected to a larger purpose. Dinner is a bacon and bean harvest. Fresh beans and potatoes are boiled and topped with the crumbled bacon. The flavor of the bacon, distributed sparingly, transforms the entire dish. As you prepare for the last day, the mood shifts again, replaced by a quiet respect for the mental fortitude this lifestyle required. It is about resilience, planning, and a deep commitment to making the most of every scrap. So, what happens when you store food like a World War II family? You get hungry, you get grumpy, and you get tired of potatoes, but you also get something else. You get a new perspective. This experience is an exercise in empathy and a crash course in essential skills. One might go into it thinking they will learn about budgeting and a few frugal recipes. One comes out of it with a fundamentally altered mindset. A return to a full pantry feels different. It may be filled with more basic ingredients. There might be jars of food canned at home. Meals are planned to ensure nothing is wasted. The lessons from the wartime generation, resourcefulness, community, waste reduction, and a deep appreciation for what you have, are not just historical footnotes. They are timeless principles for a more resilient and mindful way of living. And the world has changed immensely, but the value of a well-stocked larder, a productive garden, a helpful neighbor, and a grateful heart has not. This experiment reconnects people to their food, to history, and to a deeper sense of what it truly means to be provided for. Could a person survive on this diet? The results are surprising. You might be surprised by what you're capable of too. Thank you for joining this journey.